Hi friends, be cut. Brain is creating a thought. Happy 2012! This is my first video of this year, bringing up more facts and truth. And I begin again. We are evolved, mutated primates that create thoughts and the bizarre mathematical beliefs of gods and other nonsense with our brains. And of course, another thing that is important is that all of us are born lacking belief. And this is something that this deluded and very sick people infected with some begot syndrome or faith psychosis. The acceptance of imaginary friends as true, they do not realize that atheism actually means lacking belief in gods or imaginary friends. And guess who believes that imaginary friends are true? People suffering from neurological disorders, schizotypy, schizophrenia, temporal lobe epilepsy, and so forth. So, an atheist lacking belief in imaginary friends or in nonsense or irrational beliefs, etc., can be defined as sane, mentally healthy, able to tell between fact and fiction. And Christ psychotics are very ignorant because they don't realize they think atheism is a belief and it's a religion, which is not. It's the absence of belief in imaginary friends, which are found in all religions and also in neurological disorders like schizophrenia. So, an atheist is a sane person. That is the reason, atheists like scholars like Dawkins and Hitchens and Harris and Myers, Dennett, so forth, they never mention this. The God Delusion books and God is not great and religion's poison everything and all the rest of the books, they fail to say we are all product of a coitus and we are born lacking knowledge, lacking belief. Our computers are blank and life is going to fill them with information. See, all these scientists, and I'm going to present some of them, that actually are brilliant minds. They tell it like it is, but they are also a product of coitus, and they're also Einstein and greatest minds are also born lacking belief. And if they have a problem with the brain or susceptibility to a genetic disorder or malfunction, they will accept imaginary friends as true. In other words, by doing that and believing in being religious, no matter what profession they take, they could be an astrophysicist or anything, or a psychologist, whatever, doctor and all that, but if they believe in God or imaginary friends, they would have a problem with the brain. They would not be able to accomplish great things like the scientists I'm presenting. And this is actually a fact. So here are some examples.
Came from a star that exploded. And the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand. It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if star hadn't exploded because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution weren't created at the beginning of time. They're created in the nuclear furnace of stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough to explode. But forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay? This is great. Only one occurs every 100 years per galaxy. There are enough galaxies that if you put your hand up in the night away from LA and looked at a dark spot in the sky, made a hole the size of a dime, with a large enough telescope, you could see 100,000 galaxies. And that means that even though stars explode once every 100 years per galaxy, in that little region with 100,000 galaxies, given night, you'll see 10 stars explode. The universe is huge and old, and rare things happen all the time, including life.
Now, this was Dr. Krauss in Arizona State University. Arizona is paradise. I live in Arizona. It's wonderful. But this is a brilliant, brilliant mind. And he was also born lacking belief. But he had a healthy, a very good brain that could tell between fact and fiction. Some people are not so lucky. Some people are born with brains that are susceptible to a psychosis, this disorder, this anomaly. And of course, when they grow up, despite of the education, you start wondering. You don't try to get the facts, but you get involved with this fairy tale dopamine that is constantly attacking you. And instead of realizing this stuff, if you don't understand something, he would say, "Oh, I think it's a designer that has to be done this because this is too complicated." That's exactly what happened to Francis Collins, which is a cry-psychotic infected imbecile, a scientist. He used to be the head of Genome Project and believes in resurrecting something that is true. Dr. Krauss is mentally healthy, an atheist. But he doesn't know how to play piano, he doesn't know neurology, he doesn't know a lot of other factors. See? And he has a brilliant mind, but he's concentrated in this. So I like to be called a director of an orchestra, a connector. If you want to know all the astrophysics, ask Dr. Krauss about this. If you want to know about neurology and all that, ask Dr. Sapolsky and some brilliant mentally healthy atheists. If you want to ask, a geologist, all that. So they all have that information, their particular disciplines. I like to be like a director of an orchestra. Director of an orchestra, 100 people playing different instruments. He doesn't know how to play each instrument, but he's direct the melody, creating great music. That's what I like to be. I don't have PhDs and all that. I know all that. No, but I know people that do. So I like to direct the neurologists and all that and come up with the truth. That's what I like to be called, a connector, a mentally healthy, an atheist connector, knowing that we are stardust. Because the only thing, all life on Earth is based on carbon. It's carbon-based life on the planet Earth. And carbon can only be produced by a massive star that exploded. Now, I don't know the whole process because I'm not an astrophysicist. But if you want to know the whole process, all the details, ask Dr. Krauss. So we have to keep that in mind.
You needed your cyanobacteria to sort of crank on the oxygen, get the oxygen budget going. Then you could have that's sort of rocket fuel for multicellular creatures. But that's hardly an efficient plan. I don't even include here the expression of free will where people want to kill each other. I'm talking about nature killing us without the help of human beings.
That was another brilliant astrophysicist, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Brilliant man. So all these people are mentally healthy. And that is the reason that they reject the fairy tales and bullshit of schizophrenic type delusions. They're trying to invade their brains and giving them the answer. Oh, God did it. The intelligent designer did it. It is too complicated. So these people reject all that, so they are mentally healthy, in other words, an atheist. But Dr. Tyson doesn't know how to operate, an appendectomy, for instance, or to fill somebody's teeth, because he's not a dentist. He knows about all the rocks and all that because he's not a geologist. He doesn't know about the religion and archaeology and ruin because he's not an archaeologist and so forth. So, but he's concentrating. Again, I like to just have directing an orchestra, all these brilliant minds in the respective fields, and then I come up with the truth. And I said, here. If somebody questions me, I say, no, ask this particular person. It's like directing an orchestra. You have the trumpets over there. Bring the trumpets. In other words, bring the theory of evolution, because theory is the closest thing to truth that you can find in science. like the theory of gravity. So, you know, all that, and then the drums, and says, oh, bring the oceanographers to tell you about the evolution in the oceans and the ocean life, and bring, so it's like directing an orchestra with all these different, all based on truth. And the truth is that people that are educated and believe in God, they have a problem with the brain. Why? Very simple, because we create thought with the brain, not the heart, not any other organ in the body. And DNA actually proves evolution, that we evolved. And astrophysics, like Dr. Krauss, prove, and they had all that we are product of a star. That's what carbon originated from. So all this, everything else is bullshit. It's religious psychosis bullshit. And the problem is these people. They are nuts, and they are in government. And these people should be put in mental institutions where they belong and fix their brains. Let scientists are mentally healthy, atheists, rule countries. We wouldn't have the problem and the mess we have now. Eliminate all the churches and all this bullshit, because they're like infections. They're molesting the mind of children with lies and lies and lies, and things that are not true. And they can cause a lot of problems and a lot of immorality and all that, because of the religious psychosis that believe in us resurrecting zombie gods and flying prophets and etc., etc. No, we're in the 21st century. We don't need that. And I think that in the internet, and more of that knowledge is going to dissipate and destroy religion. But we have to control the population so we don't have the planet doesn't collapse. But this is the truth. Here is another brilliant mind. We all create all these thoughts with the brain. This is important. And here's Dr. Sapolsky, which is clearly proves that, hey, if you believe in God and you're educated, you have a problem. Shamans, priests, and all that, they're all believing in resurrecting zombies. You can be a pastor, you can be an imam, you can be a rabbi. These people are in a different world. They have a problem with the brain, because they are not, their feet are not in the real world. They're in a world of fantasy. They don't realize that the brain is the one creating the delusions they're suffering from. And they should be snapped out of this psychosis, this schizophrenia-like disorder that nobody seems to see.
Partially expressed sort of continuum deal going on, which is human societies throughout history have had such a need for shamans that they can put up with the occasional second cousin who's fully schizophrenic. Organized schizophrenia. This was somebody in the 1940s.
Primitive religion organized schizophrenia. Well said.
Textualized, appropriate, hearing the voices at the right time, all of that. But this was overwhelmingly literature about the weird stuff those folks are up to in the night and the time life specials on public television, and what considered a worrisome sign. This is considered diagnostic. It is not a good thing to be reporting that you just spent the night wrestling an angel. It is usually a very disturbing sign if you were reporting you've had a conversation with someone who is dead and has risen from the grave. These are diagnosable problems in our secular Western realm. These are the backbones of our belief systems, we in the West as well as we humans in non-Westernized settings. Schizotypalism runs through all of human history. What you
see, Dr. Sapolsky here is clearly defining all religious beliefs as a form of a schizophrenia, a mild form of a schizophrenia, which is schizotypal disorder. My point. So it is simple. This 21st century, we create everything with the brain. Do you believe in God? You're a filter, especially if you're educated. Only children and very ignorant people have an excuse. Others do not. They have a problem. And another thing too, I mean, it's very simple. You don't have to be a doctor or a brilliant mind to realize that if you take ingest one of these datura flowers, you will be able to see God and write Bibles and sacred books. Very, very simple, because all is in the brain. If you don't believe me, just try datura and you will see God. This one here, amazing. Lots of imaginary friends. Facts. We're evolved mutated primates. No different than any other animal. Too bad, people. When we get old, we suffer disease, wrinkle. The only life after death we have is bacteria eating our rotting remains. As you know, this truth hurts, because we're evolved mutated primates. Cognition. We are aware. Our conscious, cognitive cognition, because we're crazy apes that think. That awareness of ourselves, awareness of our finality, that we're going to die, awareness of all this needs a creation of a supreme being or a supreme force that in turn created us to make us special. That's where God's come from. But the truth is, it's different. We're in the 21st century. We should get rid of all these psychosis of God belief. That was okay, millions of years ago during our evolution, into thinking apes, Homo sapiens. So that's a fact. But everything is in the brain. All these people that are bringing you these tremendous, brilliant minds that are mentally healthy, in other words, atheists, that can see very clearly, they all have something in common with all of us. They create thoughts, reasoning with the brain. When the brain malfunctions, or you suffer trauma, you give yourself drugs, or you have a genetic malfunction that makes your brain propensity unable to see, to tell between fact and fiction. In other words, your bullshit detectors are damaged. Then you will believe all the bullshit to be true. Christ-psychotics, the people that believe in God, are people that are educated and all that, but they keep buying the Brooklyn Bridge because they looked at all these deeds and all that from some con artist. I tell them, I own the Brooklyn Bridge, and they keep buying the Brooklyn Bridge, paying more and more for it each time. Those are Christians, Christ-psychotics, people of faith, people of schizophrenia. That's what they are. They have a malfunctioning brain. It's like somebody that is born, a kid that is born with a bad eyes, bad vision, like myopia. And the kid is just born, and all of a sudden he cannot see. Everything is blurry, and he's trying to make sense of the world, but he cannot see correctly. Exactly the same thing happens to people that are born with a propensity to believe in God when they're born. So they are born, with a knowledge, was lacking belief, but they have a propensity to the vision problems. And the same thing happens with people that had the propensity to believe in God despite an education. In other words, it's like a schizophrenia. It's a latent schizotypy disorder that they have a propensity to. And when it blows up, and all of a sudden they can commit a tremendous crime, even though they are educated, and kill people like Koresh and Doe or Heaven's Gate and all this bunch of religious nuts that end up, they seem very normal, and they drown their children, and they kill people, and they kill abortion clinic doctors and all that. They go berserk. And because they came up with a full-blown Christ-psychosis, or the disorder that's very similar to schizophrenia. In other words, it was schizotypy, like Dr. Sapolsky said, and all of a sudden, they blew up and become schizophrenics. That's what happened. Here is the organ that we create thoughts with. Fantastic. Everybody is using this biological computer to communicate, pass information. Inside, there are more neurons inside, more connections than galaxies in the universe. That's the reason why I call this the universes within that we create thoughts with. So there is no God. We can create any God we want. And the brilliant minds and scientists that I was just presenting, brilliant. They were bringing thinking and reasoning and producing all these lectures and everything with the knowledge and the accumulated knowledge, collective knowledge over centuries. All that information and acquire more information, all based on, with the evidence to back it up, based on facts and the truth. All emanating from the brains. They are healthy, they're well adjusted. See, and as you can see, that's what we create all thoughts with. And when the brain malfunctions, if you get bumped on the head, or you have trauma, you suffer trauma, or ingest drugs, and all that, and the chemical imbalance, you start believing all this crazy stuff to be reality, which are not. They're not real, but you believe they're real. That's the problem. So in a way, Christians and people of faith are like people under drugs that behave like people, that drunk people, or they have taken some drugs without having taken any. This is the place. It's like people like schizophrenic. They haven't taken any drugs, but they see imagine that they have the implants. The alien put some implants in the brain to pick up their thoughts and things like that. They're no different than what the Christians and people of faith believe, Muslims and all that. And this thing is the brain. But the brain themselves, this bundle of evolution, created by evolution of have 1 billion years, and all this product of evolution are the galaxies and the universes inside our heads that create cognition and awareness of thought. All animals have a brain, but we are above them in the sense that we are higher. They call it higher cognition. You see, and the whole process, you have to talk to a bunch of neurologists to put all the information together to know how the whole thing works. I cannot tell you how the whole thing works at all, but I can tell you that the brain is the creator of thought. I cannot tell you anything about gravity, but I can tell you that if I drop something, it will fall down. And I know that is what this force is, space-time and gravity and all that. I let the scientists explain it. I let the geologists explain that. I let the dentist explain to you how, I let the optometrist explain about the eye. So, but my mental health, being an atheist, mentally healthy, I can actually tell you about these things, where these things come from. That's a fact. Now, when the brain malfunctions, also you suffer, like a lot of Christians, from pareidolia. You see things that are not there, and your mind trying to create it into the religious psychosis you have. Here's an example of pareidolia. Very common in Christ psychosis. A few years ago, a lot of people the Christ psychotics saw Jesus in a marble slab. But I saw the orgy of penis Christ. Look at that. They're all right in there. Depends the way you look at it. If you suffer from pareidolia. See this photo here? Well, you can see a lot of things in it. If you suffer from pareidolia, see that? You can see demons in the clouds. You suffer from Christ psychosis, like this, which I just drew. I make the outline of the demons. See, people with a neurological disorder of God belief or zombie God belief will see all sort of things. And they also speak in tongues. They get their brains are given all these problems with this belief in resurrecting zombies or prophets or demons or demonic possession. And look at this. This is I took a picture. It's a vagina, and then you can see the Virgin Mary there, Madonna. And Christianity infected Americans are so stupid and ignorant. They have no idea what atheism means. It is not a belief.
Questioning religion, doubting creationism. Here, Naomi and her fellow campers are encouraged to build their own beliefs.
They never tell the children, this mentally healthy atheist camps, they never tell the children that they create their beliefs with the brain. They never do. Never do. They never mention the brain creates God, and they show that it can be affected when it's ill and sick, and compare it to schizophrenics, and compare the religious, like people that have bizarre metamagical beliefs, as people suffer from mental disorders, which also have bizarre metamagical beliefs. This is a problem. They never mention the brain. It's ignored. Here are some examples that you probably won't even notice, but here are examples of Christ psychosis. Check these people out. How stupid they are. They don't even know language or nothing. Everybody admires Thibault, the Christ psychotic infected imbecile. He's going to have a problem with his brain, with all this, all the sports that he has, and his mental dysfunction. Another 10 years, let's see where Thibault is at. And stupid people. And look at this all the Christian moron that changed the lyrics of a mentally healthy atheist, John Lennon, that was killed by a Christ psychotic imbecile. Look, here it is. And these cry-psychotic infected imbeciles are allowed to change things around, to spout out their lies and change everything. You should be put in jail. And the most dangerous thing about this neurological disorder of some begot belief, of faith in imaginary friends, is that it is not seen. It's not seen. Nobody sees religious beliefs, which are false beliefs and irrational, as a form of neurological malfunction, a brain malfunction, which it is. And nobody sees it. The schizophrenics are called schizophrenic because they have some irrational beliefs. But Christians and all people of faith that have the same identical irrational beliefs and do this crazy thing, believing in some begots and all that, and angels and all that crap, they are considered perfectly sane. But why? They both have brains, and both brains are malfunctioning. And nobody sees it. You know? And when you are mentally healthy, you're sane, then you can see that you are nothing but a mutated primate. If you learn science, you question everything. That's very, very important. I have all these genes. DNA proved evolution that I evolved. All these mutations in my DNA, I study it. Science, I can study, the stars, the cosmos. I know where I am. A lot of people have spent all their life with those accumulated knowledge like Dr. Krauss and Einstein and brilliant minds, mentally healthy atheists, are telling us all that. And I know they're telling the truth because backed up by evidence and facts if you study it. I know my genes. 2,000 years ago, this is from the Chibcha in Colombia, South America. I have these people's genes, these Native American genes. It's in my DNA, it's a fact. I have European, I have all kind of genes, all a fact. These people 2,000 years ago, they had no idea what we know now. So we have to learn and keep learning, but it is devastating, the psychosis of God belief. It should be eradicated. This disease is the problem is because nobody sees it. But religious belief and faith is a mental illness, especially in the educated. Only the ignorant and children have an excuse in believing these fairy tales to be true. And that's very, very dangerous because they are latent in these brains and all of a sudden they can blow up, causing all these problems. If you imagine a president of a country that is in fact is a Christian, look at what Bush did in Iraq. Thousands of people killed for nothing. And got rid of Saddam Hussein that was controlling everything. Look at all these mistakes these people with a lot of power can make. Look at in Iran, this crazy guy, Islam psychotic, Ahmadinejad. Look at this idiot. Very, very dangerous. You cannot have leaders. They believe in imaginary friends to be, to be leaders of countries. Look at the GOP. Look at these clowns, the Tea Party. They are stupid. They're ignorant. And our president is a summa cum laude. The other morons, imbecile Christians don't have degrees like Obama has. So, and they call him a professor. They're anti-science pieces of shit. This is a problem in this country. We have to get rid of the morons. But then we have to educate the people. And then we have to get rid of the churches. All the people in mental institutions, all of them. And make it illegal to teach lies in this 21st century. That's true. That should be illegal. All these churches should be out of business. All these people, they're infecting the mind of children. And this is the problem. That's the reason I do my YouTube videos, telling you the truth and the facts. Hey, the more you know, the more difficult it is for us to lie. When you have a healthy brain, oh boy, the world is yours. But it's your own.